I always thought my marriage to Clara was a fortress, built on trust and shared dreams. We'd been together for 12 years, married for 9, living in a cozy suburban home with a garden we both tended. I'm Daniel, a software engineer, and Clara runs a boutique bakery downtown. Our life was a rhythm of quiet mornings, shared dinners, and weekend hikes. But looking back, I see the cracks forming, subtle as spiderwebs. Started with her phone. She'd always left it on the counter, screen up, notifications buzzing. Then, she began carrying it everywhere, even to the bathroom, her fingers tapping out messages with a fervor I hadn't seen before. I noticed other changes. Clara, who once wore flour-dusted aprons and laughed about her messy buns, started dressing sharper. Silk blouses, heels, perfume that lingered like a signature. She said it was for the bakery, to attract upscale clients. I believed her because I wanted to, but her evenings grew late, her excuses vague. Client meetings, she'd say, or inventory. I'd nod, ignoring the unease gnawing at me. One night, I found a receipt in her purse for a restaurant I'd never heard of, dated for a time she'd claimed to be at the bakery. The total was for 2. I confronted her gently, holding the receipt like a fragile thing. Her eyes flickered, but she laughed it off, saying it was a business dinner with a supplier. Her voice was too smooth, her smile too practiced. I let it go, but the seed of doubt took root. I started paying attention, her late nights, the way she'd angle her phone away when texting, the new lilt in her laugh when she spoke to someone on the phone. It wasn't just infidelity I feared. It was something deeper, something I couldn't name. The turning point came when I saw her car parked outside a gallery downtown, a place she'd never mentioned. It was 9 p.m., long after the bakery closed. I waited across the street, my heart thudding, and saw her emerge, arm in arm with a man. He was tall, impeccably dressed, his hand resting on her lower back. They didn't kiss or embrace, but their closeness was intimate, practiced. My wife, my Clara, was sharing a part of herself with someone else. Not just her body, but her spirit, her secrets. I drove home, hands shaking. The image burned into my mind. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, planning not revenge. Not yet, but a way to understand what I was losing. The man's face haunted me. I couldn't shake the way he moved with Clara. Their steps synchronized like dancers. I needed to know who he was, not just for my pride but to grasp the scope of her betrayal. The next day, I called in sick and drove to the gallery. It was a sleek, modern space, all glass and white walls, showcasing abstract art that felt cold and distant. I posed as a curious buyer, chatting with the receptionist. She mentioned the gallery's owner, Victor Langston, a visionary who hosted exclusive events. A quick search on my phone confirmed it. Victor was the man I'd seen. Victor wasn't just some fling. He was a local celebrity, a philanthropist with a knack for turning struggling artists into stars. His social media was a curated gallery of his life, galas, studio visits, and, buried in the posts, photos with Clara. In one, she stood beside him at an art auction, her hand on his arm, her smile radiant. The caption read, "Celebrating creativity with inspiring company." The post was 3 months old. 3 months of lies. I dug deeper, scouring Victor's online presence. He was 45, divorced, known for mentoring young entrepreneurs. Clara's bakery had been struggling before she met him. Now it was thriving. I found an article mentioning a grant she'd received, funded by Victor's foundation. The pieces clicked. He wasn't just her lover. He was her savior, her muse. She'd traded our quiet life for his glittering world, not just betraying me but rewriting our story. I started tracking her movements, not proud of it but driven by a need to know. I installed an app on my phone to monitor her location, using a shared account she'd forgotten about. Her evenings at the gallery, her lunches at upscale cafes, all aligned with Victor's schedule. But the betrayal wasn't physical in the usual sense. It was emotional, intellectual. She was giving him the parts of herself I thought were mine alone. Her laughter, her dreams, her late-night musings about life. I found a notebook in her desk, filled with poetry she'd never shown me, dedicated to V. The cruelty of it sank in. She hadn't just strayed. She'd built a parallel life. I wasn't angry yet, not fully. I was analytical, piecing together the puzzle. But each discovery tightened a coil inside me. I began to imagine confronting her, not with shouts but with evidence, a ledger of her deceit. I wanted her to see herself through my eyes, to feel the weight of her choices. But first, I needed more proof, not just of her betrayal, but of how deeply Victor had woven himself into her soul. I wasn't ready for revenge, but the seed was planted, dark and unyielding. Clara's double life became my obsession. I couldn't confront her without understanding the full extent of her connection with Victor. I needed to see them together, not from across a street but up close in their element. The gallery announced a masquerade ball, a fundraiser for local artists, hosted by Victor. Clara hadn't mentioned it, but her location app showed her at the venue the night before, likely helping with preparations. I decided to attend, uninvited, a ghost in their world. I rented a tuxedo and a black Venetian mask, simple but elegant, blending into the crowd of 200 guests. The gallery was transformed. Chandeliers glittering, tables draped in velvet, waiters gliding with champagne. I spotted Clara immediately. She wore a crimson gown, her mask adorned with feathers, laughing as she mingled. Victor was at her side, his mask gold, his presence commanding. They didn't touch, but their orbit was magnetic, guests gravitating toward them like moths. I stayed on the edges, sipping wine, listening. Clara's voice carried a confidence I hadn't heard in years. She spoke about art, ambition, the future of the gallery, topics we rarely discussed anymore. Victor praised her, calling her the heart of our vision. The crowd applauded, and I felt like an outsider in my own marriage. Their connection wasn't flirtatious. It was profound, a partnership that excluded me. She'd found a soulmate, not just a lover. A woman beside me, unaware of my identity, gossiped about Victor and Clara. They're inseparable, she said. She's his muse, you know. He's planning a new gallery wing, and she's designing it. My stomach churned. Clara, who once dreamed of expanding her bakery, was now building Victor's empire. I wandered to a quiet corner, where I overheard Victor talking to a donor. Clara's transformed everything, he said. She's my North Star. The words cut deeper than any physical betrayal could. I left before the night ended, my mask hiding the storm in my eyes. Driving home, I realized the betrayal wasn't just personal. It was existential. Clara had outgrown me, not because I'd failed but because Victor offered her a bigger canvas. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my desk, sketching a plan. Not to win her back, but to dismantle the world she'd built with him. Revenge wasn't about confrontation yet. It was about control. I'd start small, subtle, planting seeds of doubt in Victor's perfect life. I hacked into the gallery's email system, a skill from my early coding days, and found their correspondence. It was intimate but not explicit, letters of shared dreams, not passion. That made it worse. I saved every email, every photo, building my arsenal. The masquerade had shown me their truth. Now, I'd use it to unravel them. The emails were a goldmine, not of scandal but of vulnerability. Clara and Victor's messages revealed their ambitions, their insecurities, their reliance on each other. Victor wrote about his fear of fading relevance. Clara confessed her guilt about neglecting the bakery. They were human, flawed, and that made my plan clearer. Revenge wouldn't be loud or violent. It would be surgical, exploiting their weaknesses. I started with Victor, the linchpin of their world. I created a fake email account, posing as an art critic from a prestigious magazine. I contacted Victor, praising his gallery but hinting at rumors of financial mismanagement. I mentioned a source who'd seen irregularities in his foundation's grants, including the one to Clara's bakery. It was a lie, but I'd done enough research to make it plausible. I suggested an interview to clear the air. Victor responded within hours, polite but rattled, agreeing to meet. I had no intention of showing up, but the seed was planted, doubt in his pristine reputation. Meanwhile, I watched Clara. She was oblivious to my growing distance, too absorbed in her new life. I played the dutiful husband, cooking dinner, asking about her day, but my questions were probes. "How's the gallery project going?" I'd ask, noting her hesitation. She'd talk about Victor's vision, her role in it, never mentioning the late nights or the poetry. I found more evidence, a sketchbook in her car, filled with designs for the gallery wing, signed with both their initials. Felt like a love letter. I escalated my plan. Using another alias, I sent an anonymous tip to a local art blog, questioning the ethics of Victor's grant to Clara. I implied favoritism, citing their close partnership. The blog ran a short piece, vague but damaging. I watched Victor's social media for signs of strain. Fewer posts, terser replies. At home, Clara was quieter, her phone buzzing less. I asked if something was wrong, feigning concern. She brushed it off, but her eyes betrayed worry. My next move targeted Clara directly. I accessed the bakery's accounting software, something I'd helped set up years ago. I created a small discrepancy, a missing payment from Victor's foundation, easily overlooked but traceable. When Clara noticed, she'd question Victor's integrity, not mine. I didn't want to ruin her business, just her trust in him. Each step was calculated, a chess move in a game she didn't know we were playing. By now, my anger had crystallized into purpose. Clara's betrayal wasn't just about Victor. It was about her choosing a life that erased me. I wasn't ready to confront her, not yet. I wanted her to feel the ground shift beneath her, to question her choices before I revealed my hand. The emails, the blog post, the accounting trick, they were just the beginning. I was rewriting their story, and they didn't even know it. My subtle attacks began to bear fruit. Clara came home one evening, her face drawn, her usual radiance dimmed. She said the bakery's books were off, a payment from Victor's foundation unaccounted for. I feigned surprise, offering to help, but she waved me off, saying she'd handle it. I saw the doubt in her eyes, not for me but for Victor. The art blog's post had spread, whispered about in their circle. Victor's latest gallery event drew a smaller crowd, and his social media posts grew defensive, touting his unwavering commitment to transparency. I smiled into my coffee, knowing I'd stirred the pot. At home, Clara's warmth toward me was strained, not because she suspected me, but because her world was tilting. She snapped at small things. Dishes left out, my late nights working, cover for my planning. I played the wounded husband, gentle and patient, which only seemed to irritate her more. One night, she left her phone on the counter, a rare slip. I checked it while she showered, finding texts with Victor. They weren't romantic but tense. "We need to talk about the grant," she wrote. His reply was curt. "It's under control. Trust me." I deleted the thread, ensuring she'd think he was dodging her. I escalated my campaign. Using my fake critic alias, I sent Victor another email, canceling the interview, but hinting at a deeper investigation. I mentioned Clara's bakery by name, suggesting her grant was a conflict of interest. Victor didn't reply, but I saw the fallout. Clara mentioned a stressful meeting with him, her voice tight. I probed gently, learning he'd hired an auditor to review his foundation's finances. Perfect. More pressure, more cracks. I turned my attention to their shared dream, the gallery wing. I found the architect's contact through the gallery's hacked emails and posed as a city planner, requesting a review of the project's permits. It was a bureaucratic stall, but it delayed construction, costing Victor money and patience. Clara came home ranting about red tape, her frustration spilling over. I nodded sympathetically, hiding my satisfaction. Their vision was fraying, and I was the invisible thread pulling it apart. Yet, with each victory, my heart grew heavier. I loved Clara once, deeply. Seeing her unravel hurt, even as I orchestrated it. But her betrayal, her choice to build a life with Victor, to share her soul with him, fueled my resolve. This wasn't just revenge. It was justice. I wasn't ready to reveal myself, not yet. I wanted them to feel the weight of their choices, to question each other before I stepped into the light. I began planning my next move. A public humiliation, one that would expose their bond and shatter their world. The cruelty was coming, sharp and deliberate, and I was almost ready to wield it. Clara's world was unraveling, and I was the silent architect. The bakery's missing payment had sparked a rift between her and Victor. She mentioned their tense calls, her voice edged with doubt. Victor's audit was dragging, his foundation under scrutiny thanks to my anonymous tips. The gallery wing's permit delay added pressure. With contractors demanding answers Clara couldn't provide. I watched her fray, her confidence replaced by sleepless nights. Yet, I felt no triumph, only a cold determination to push further. I targeted their trust next. Using the hacked gallery emails, I crafted a forged message from Victor to Clara, sent from a spoofed address. It was subtle, worded in his lofty style. "We need to reassess your role in the wing. The scrutiny is too much." I made it sound like he was distancing himself, blaming her for the grant controversy. When Clara read it, she checked her email at breakfast, her face paling. I knew it hit. She didn't mention it, but her silence was heavy, her fingers gripping her coffee mug. To deepen the wedge, I sent Clara an anonymous note, printed and slipped into her car. It read, "Victor's using you. Check his foundation's donors." It was vague but pointed, hinting at betrayal without proof. I'd researched enough to know Victor's donors included a rival gallery owner, a fact Clara might uncover if she dug. I wanted her to question his loyalty, to mirror the doubt she'd sown in me. That night, she stayed up late, her laptop glowing, searching for answers. I wasn't done with Victor. Posing as a donor, I contacted his foundation, expressing concern about the grant to Clara's bakery. I suggested it looked like favoritism, citing the art blog's post. Victor's reply was frantic, promising transparency. I leaked his response to the same blog, framing it as an admission of guilt. The post went viral in their small art world, and Victor's next event was half empty. Clara came home from it quiet, her eyes red. "It's a mess," she muttered, not meeting my gaze. My marriage was a hollow performance now. I cooked, smiled, asked about her day, but Clara barely noticed. Her mind was with Victor, their crumbling empire. I felt like a ghost in my own home, but it fueled my resolve. The betrayal wasn't just her laughter shared with him. It was her erasure of me, her choice to live a life where I was irrelevant. Revenge wasn't enough. I wanted her to feel that irrelevance, to lose what she'd chased. I began planning a public strike, one that would expose their bond and humiliate them both. The cruelty was sharpening, and I was ready to carve deeper. Clara's doubt in Victor was palpable, but I needed to push her to act on it. I created a new alias, Sarah, a former gallery intern who'd seen too much. I emailed Clara, claiming I'd worked with Victor and knew his true character. I spun a story of his manipulation, how he'd used others' talents to bolster his own name, discarding them when scrutiny hit. I mentioned the rival gallery donor, planting the seed that Victor was playing her. "Be careful," I wrote. "He's not who you think." Clara took the bait. I saw her researching the donor, her browser history a map of suspicion. She called Victor, their conversation short and clipped, audible through the bedroom door. "Why didn't you tell me about Ellison?" she asked, naming the rival. Victor's muffled reply was defensive, and Clara hung up, pacing. I stayed in the living room, pretending to read, my pulse quickening. The poison-eyed zone was spreading. To keep Victor off balance, I escalated my attacks on his reputation. I posted on art forums under multiple aliases, questioning his foundation's ethics and linking to the blog's articles. The chatter grew, with real critics joining in. A local paper picked up the story, running a piece on questions surrounding Langston's legacy. Victor's social media went silent, his usual flair replaced by absence. I imagined him scrambling, his charm failing under the weight of doubt. At home, Clara was a shadow of herself. She stopped wearing her silk blouses, her bakery apron back in rotation. I offered comfort, cooking her favorite pasta, asking gentle questions. "Is Victor helping with the audit?" I prodded. She sighed, admitting he'd been distant. I nodded, hiding my satisfaction. The forged email, the anonymous note, Sarah's warning. They were eroding her faith in him. But I saw her guilt, too, the way she avoided my eyes. She knew she'd betrayed me, even if she didn't know I knew. I planned my next move. A trap to force Clara to confront Victor publicly. The gallery was hosting a small artist showcase. A low-stakes event, but one they'd both attend. I'd use it to stage a revelation, not of my role but of their fractured bond. I drafted a fake letter from the rival donor, Ellison, implying Victor had promised him control of the new wing in exchange for funding. I'd plant it at the showcase, ensuring Clara found it. The fallout would be their undoing, their trust shattered in front of their peers. I wasn't ready to reveal myself yet. I wanted them to destroy each other first. The cruelty was in the precision. Each step a scalpel, cutting deeper into their shared dream. I felt the weight of my actions, but Clara's choice to build a life without me justified every move. The showcase was days away and I was ready. The artist showcase was the perfect stage. Small enough to feel intimate, public enough to amplify the fallout. I spent days preparing, refining the fake letter from Ellison. It was convincing, written in the pompous tone of a wealthy donor. Victor, our deal stands. Funding for the wing in exchange for oversight. Clara's involvement is a liability. I printed it on forged letterhead, using a template from Ellison's gallery site, and aged the paper slightly with coffee stains. It had to look real, dropped carelessly for Clara to find. I attended the showcase unmasked, posing as a guest. Clara was there, in a simple black dress, her smile forced. Victor mingled, but his charisma was strained, his eyes darting to Clara too often. The blog posts and audit rumors had taken their toll. The room buzzed with whispers. I slipped the letter into a stack of programs near the refreshment table, where Clara was likely to linger. Then I waited, blending into the crowd, my heart steady but alert. Clara found the letter halfway through the evening. I saw her pick up a program, the letter fluttering out. Her eyes scanned it, her face draining of color. She looked at Victor, who was laughing with a guest, oblivious. She didn't confront him immediately, but her posture changed, shoulders tense, movements sharp. She tucked the letter into her purse, her fingers trembling. I knew she'd stew on it. Her trust in Victor already fragile from Sarah's email and the donor rumors. To ensure the spark caught fire, I'd arranged a secondary move. I'd hacked the gallery's projector system, used for artist slides, and cued a slide to display during Victor's closing remarks. It was simple, a screenshot of the blog's viral post, with a caption I'd added, "Who really controls Langston's vision?" It would flash for seconds, enough to rattle the crowd and push Clara to act. I tested the hack remotely, confirming it would work. As the night progressed, Clara's unease grew. She barely spoke to Victor, her glances at him sharp with betrayal. He sensed it, his smiles faltering when he approached her. The room felt charged, the guests unaware of the drama brewing. I stayed in the shadows, watching my plan unfold. When Victor took the stage to thank the artists, the projector flickered, and my slide appeared. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Victor froze, his voice catching. Clara's eyes locked on him, her purse clutched tight, the letter inside burning a hole in her trust. I left before the chaos peaked, driving home with a grim satisfaction. Clara didn't come home that night, texting me about a late meeting. I knew she was confronting Victor, their bond fracturing under the weight of my lies. The cruelty was in their isolation, each doubting the other, their dream crumbling. But I wasn't done. The next phase would be personal, exposing Clara's betrayal to our world, not just theirs. Clara returned home at dawn, her eyes hollow, her dress from the showcase wrinkled. She said nothing, collapsing onto the couch, her purse spilling the forged letter. I pretended not to notice, brewing coffee, asking if she was okay. "Rough night," she muttered, her voice raw. I didn't push, but I knew the showcase had detonated their partnership. Victor's social media was silent, and the art blog reported a tense event, with guests speculating about his exit mid-speech. My slide had worked. The letter had struck deeper. I checked Clara's phone while she slept, a risk I hadn't taken in weeks. Her texts with Victor were a battlefield. "How could you lie about Ellison?" she'd written. His replies were desperate. "It's not what you think. Someone's sabotaging us." Clara hadn't responded. The Sarah email and donor rumors had primed her distrust. The letter and slide were the final blow. She'd accused him of betrayal, mirroring her own, and he couldn't prove his innocence. I deleted the thread, ensuring her anger festered. I shifted my focus to Clara's world, our friends, her bakery, our shared life. She'd hidden her bond with Victor from everyone, but I'd expose it, not as an affair but as a betrayal of her roots. I started with her best friend, Lila, who ran the bakery's social media. Posing as an anonymous, concerned customer, I emailed Lila, hinting that Clara was prioritizing Victor's gallery over the bakery, neglecting staff and customers. I included a photo from Victor's social media, Clara at his side, time-stamped during bakery hours. Lila replied, worried, promising to talk to Clara. The bakery's Yelp page saw a sudden wave of reviews, mine, under fake names, praising the staff but noting Clara's absence. "Seems like she's more into art than baking now," one read. I knew Clara checked reviews obsessively. She'd see them and feel the sting. Her employees began asking questions, their loyalty wavering. I overheard her on the phone, reassuring them, her voice strained. The life she'd built with me, the bakery she loved, was slipping away, just as she'd slipped from me. My revenge was a slow poison, but I felt its weight. Clara's guilt was surfacing. She lingered at home more, cooked dinner once, asked about my work. I kept my distance, polite but cold, letting her feel the void. I wasn't ready to confront her, not yet. I wanted her to lose Victor, her bakery's shine, her confidence, before I revealed my role. The next step was a public unmasking, not of my actions but of her choices. I began planning an event, a surprise anniversary party for us, where our friends would see her betrayal laid bare. The cruelty was in the exposure, her shame a mirror of mine. I contacted caterers, drafted invites, and sharpened my final blade. Our 9th anniversary was weeks away, the perfect stage for my final act. I planned a surprise party, framing it as a gesture of love to our friends and family. Clara, distracted by Victor's collapse and the bakery's struggles, barely noticed my preparations. I rented a community hall, invited our inner circle, Lila, her staff, our neighbors, and hired a photographer to capture the memories. The real purpose was to unveil Clara's betrayal, not with accusations but with evidence, letting her face the judgment of those she deceived. I compiled a slideshow, disguised as a tribute to our marriage. Started innocently, photos of us hiking, laughing, building our home. But the final slides were different. Clara at Victor's gallery, her hand on his arm, a screenshot of her poetry, dedicated to V, a timeline of her late nights, pulled from her location data. I'd narrate it as a journey, letting the images speak. Our friends would see her double life, her emotional abandonment, without me saying a word. The shame would be her punishment. To ensure Victor's presence, I sent him an anonymous invite, hinting that Clara needed his support at a personal event. I knew he'd come, desperate to salvage their bond. His arrival would seal the narrative, Clara's partner in her new life, crashing our anniversary. I leaked the party details to the art blog, framing it as a community event, ensuring Victor's circle heard whispers. The stage was set for maximum humiliation. Clara's mood darkened as the date approached. The bakery's reviews worsened, her staff distant. Lila confronted her about the customer email, and Clara deflected, but I saw the cracks. She tried reconnecting with me, suggesting a quiet anniversary dinner. I agreed, feigning warmth, then postponed it, citing a work emergency. She didn't suspect the party, too consumed by her crumbling world. Victor's foundation announced a pause on the gallery wing, citing financial review. My delays and rumors had worked. I felt the plan's weight, a mix of resolve and sorrow. Clara's betrayal had gutted me, but orchestrating her downfall wasn't joy, It was necessity. She'd chosen Victor's glittering world over our quiet life, rewriting me out of her story. Now, I'd rewrite hers, forcing her to face the wreckage. The party was days away, and I rehearsed my speech, practiced my smile. I'd play the devoted husband, blindsided by her choices, letting the slideshow tell the truth. The cruelty was in the precision, her exposure not just to me, but to everyone who mattered. Victor's presence would amplify it, their bond a public failure. I wasn't sure what came after, divorce, silence, or something darker, but I knew this was the climax. Clara would see herself through my eyes, and the pain would be her reckoning. I finalized the slideshow, sent the invites, and waited for the curtain to rise. The anniversary party was tomorrow, and the hall was ready. White tablecloths, fairy lights, a projector screen looming like a guillotine. I'd spent weeks perfecting the slideshow, each image a dagger. Clara's gallery moments with Victor, her poetry, her location data exposing her lies. Our friends RSVP'd, eager for a celebration, unaware of the trap. Clara believed I was working late, oblivious to the event. Victor's anonymous invite had worked. He'd emailed the RSVP address, confirming he'd attend, thinking Clara needed him. I felt like a conductor before a symphony, every note planned. Lila, Clara's friend, helped decorate, her concern for Clara evident. She'd mentioned Clara's stress, the bakery's woes, Victor's distance. I nodded, feigning worry, knowing I'd orchestrated it all, the forged letter, the hacked projector, the anonymous tips. The art blog's latest post speculated about Victor's fall from grace, and Clara's Yelp reviews had tanked. Their world was collapsing, and I was the invisible force. At home, Clara was a ghost. She barely spoke, her eyes dull, her phone untouched. I caught her staring at our old photos, guilt flickering across her face. I wanted to shake her, to demand why she'd chosen Victor's dreams over ours, but I held back. The party would be my voice, her shame my victory. I rehearsed my speech, a toast to our marriage, followed by the slideshow's silent accusation. Victor's presence would seal her humiliation. I planted one final seed. I sent Clara a text from a burner phone, posing as a gallery staffer. Victor's coming to your anniversary party. He says it's to support you. I knew she'd panic, maybe confront him before the event, fracturing their bond further. She read the text while I was in the kitchen, her gasp audible. She didn't mention it, but her hands shook as she poured wine. The trap was tightening. The cruelty of my plan weighed on me. I'd loved Clara, built a life with her, and now I was dismantling it. But her betrayal, her choice to share her soul with Victor, to erase me, was unforgivable. She'd rewritten our story. Now I'd rewrite hers. I checked the projector, the guest list, the catering, ensuring no detail failed. The hall would be a stage, our friends the audience, Clara and Victor the unwitting players. I slept fitfully, dreaming of her face when the slideshow played, her world crumbling under the weight of truth. Tomorrow, I'd be the husband she'd underestimated, and she'd feel the full force of my revenge. The party began at 7 p.m., the hall glowing with warmth, guests mingling over wine and hors d'oeuvres. I wore a tailored suit, my smile practiced, greeting friends with hugs. Clara arrived, lured by a fake text from Lila about a bakery emergency at the hall. She froze at the door, seeing the crowd, the banner reading Happy 9th Anniversary, Daniel and Clara. Her eyes met mine, confused but softening, thinking I'd planned a loving surprise. I kissed her cheek, whispering, "For us." Victor entered minutes later, his face tense, scanning for Clara. Guests noticed, whispering. He was out of place, a stranger in our world. Clara saw him, her expression shifting from shock to dread. She approached him, their exchange hushed but heated, her hands gesturing. I watched from afar, my pulse steady. The text I'd sent had done its job, making her think Victor was crashing our moment. Their fracture was visible, guests sensing the tension. I clinked my glass, drawing attention. "Thank you for celebrating our 9 years." I began, my voice warm. Clara stood beside me, her smile forced, Victor lingering at the room's edge. I spoke of our journey, hikes, late-night talks, the home we'd built. Guests nodded, nostalgic. Then I gestured to the screen. A little tribute, I said, pressing play. The slideshow started innocently. Us at our wedding, gardening, laughing. Clara relaxed, her hand brushing mine. Then the tone shifted. A photo of Clara with Victor at the gallery, her smile radiant. Another of her poetry, dedicated to V. A map of her late-night locations, none at the bakery. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Clara's face drained of color, her hand dropping. Victor stared, realization dawning. The final slide was a screenshot of the art blog's post. Langston's muse or misstep? With Clara's name. The room fell silent, eyes darting between us. I kept my tone steady. Clara's found new passions, I said, letting the words hang. She stammered, Daniel, this isn't. But I raised a hand, gentle but firm. It's okay, I said, my eyes cold. Guests shifted, uncomfortable, some glaring at Clara, others at Victor. He stepped forward, trying to speak, but a friend of mine, briefed subtly, escorted him out. Clara stood frozen, the weight of judgment crushing her. I'd exposed her betrayal, not as a physical affair, but as a theft of our shared life. The party ended early, guests leaving in hushed tones. Clara stayed, tears streaming, but I walked away, leaving her in the wreckage. The cruelty was in the public shaming, her emotional affair laid bare. Victor's reputation was ruined, his presence a confirmation of her choice. I drove home, the hall's silence echoing in my mind. The revenge wasn't done, Clara's reckoning was just beginning, and I had one final move to ensure she felt my pain. Clara didn't come home that night. She texted, I need space, and I didn't reply. The party's fallout spread fast. Friends called, shocked, asking if I was okay. Lila posted a cryptic message on the bakery's social media, hinting at changes ahead. The art blog ran a gleeful update. Langston's gala crumbles. Muse takes the fall. Victor's foundation announced a hiatus. His gallery wing scrapped. My plan had worked. Clara and Victor were pariahs. Their bond shattered. Their dreams dust. I felt no joy, only a hollow resolve. Clara's betrayal had gutted me. Her emotional intimacy with Victor a knife deeper than any physical act. I'd mirrored that pain, stripping her of her community, her passion, her pride. But I wasn't finished. I wanted her to face the life she'd abandoned, to see the void she'd created. I began dismantling our shared world, starting with the bakery. I contacted Clara's landlord, posing as a concerned vendor, and discovered unpaid rent. Another accounting trick I'd planted months ago. The landlord, already wary from the Yelp reviews, issued a warning. I leaked it to a local business forum, framing it as Clara's neglect. Her staff, already distant, began quitting, Lila among them. The bakery, her first love before Victor, was slipping away, just as she'd slipped from me. At home, I packed Clara's things, her clothes, her sketchbooks, her poetry. I didn't destroy them. I boxed them neatly, a silent message. She no longer belonged here. I left the boxes in the garage, alongside a printed copy of her emails with Victor, highlighted to show her dreams shared with him, not me. When she returned, she'd see her betrayal reflected, her choices a monument to her loss. Clara showed up 2 days later, her face gaunt, her voice small. Daniel, can we talk? She asked. I let her in, my expression neutral. She apologized, tears falling, saying she'd lost herself with Victor, that it wasn't what I thought. I listened, unmoved. You chose him, I said, handing her the key to the garage. She saw the boxes, the emails, and collapsed, sobbing. I didn't comfort her. The cruelty was in my silence, letting her drown in regret. She left with a single box, promising to return for the rest. I knew she wouldn't. She'd avoid this house, this pain. Victor was gone, his gallery shuttered, his name toxic. Clara's bakery closed a week later, the landlord's patience gone. Our friends stopped calling her, their loyalty shifting to me. The revenge was complete, But one final act remained. A gesture to ensure Clara carried her shame forever. A reminder of the life she'd forsaken for a fleeting dream. Clara's absence left the house too quiet, a museum of our past. I didn't gloat over her downfall. Her betrayal had cost me too much. The bakery's closure made the local paper. A brief note about mismanagement. Victor vanished from public view, rumored to have left town. Our friends rallied around me, their pity a bitter comfort. But my revenge wasn't about their sympathy. It was about Clara's reckoning, ensuring she'd never escape her choices. I crafted my final act, a gesture both subtle and cruel. Clara had loved her poetry. Her words for Victor a betrayal sharper than any touch. I compiled her poems, the ones dedicated to V, and self-published them under her name, titled Muse of Ashes. The cover was a photo from the gallery, her smiling beside Victor, now a symbol of her shame. I didn't distribute it widely, just sent copies to her former staff, our friends, and the art blog's editor. The blog posted a review, calling it a raw confession of ambition and betrayal. Clara would see it, wherever she was, and know her private dreams were now public scorn. I included a note in each copy, anonymous but pointed. Her words, her truth. Clara's poetry, once her sanctuary, became her punishment. Every line a reminder of what she'd lost. I tracked her new address, a small apartment downtown, found through a mutual friend, and mailed her a copy. No return address. I imagined her opening it, her face crumpling as she saw her soul exposed, her bond with Victor reduced to a cautionary tale. I sold our house, the garden we'd tended now someone else's. I moved to a new city, a fresh start, but kept tabs on Clara through distant contacts. She'd taken a job at a cafe, her baking days over, her spark gone. Victor's gallery never reopened, his name erased from the art world. My revenge had dismantled their empire, but it was Clara's emotional betrayal, her choice to share her essence with him, that justified the cruelty. She'd rewritten me out of her life. I'd rewritten her legacy as one of failure. The Muse of Ashes spread slowly, a niche book discussed in art circles. Clara never responded publicly, but a friend mentioned her silence, her withdrawal. I didn't need her to speak. Her pain was in her absence, her dreams reduced to ashes. I kept one copy of the book, locked in a drawer, a reminder of my own capacity for vengeance. The cruelty was in its permanence. She'd carry the weight forever, just as I'd carry the scar of her betrayal. Months later, I stood in my new apartment, a city skyline beyond the window, far from Clara's world. I'd rebuilt my life. A new job, new routines, no trace of our past. Friends from our old life faded, their calls replaced by new connections. I didn't miss Clara, not anymore. Her betrayal had burned that love away, leaving only the need for justice. The Muse of Ashes was my final word, a cruel monument to her choices, ensuring she'd never escape the mirror I'd held up. I heard rumors about her through a former neighbor. Clara worked long hours at the cafe, her face lined, her laughter gone. The poetry book haunted her. Customers whispered about it, recognizing her name. She tried to vanish, but the art world's memory was long, and Muse of Ashes lingered, a digital ghost on forums and blogs. Victor was a footnote, his career dead, his name tied to scandal. Their bond, once her escape, was her cage. I reflected on my revenge, its precision a strange pride. I'd never raised a hand, never shouted, but I'd destroyed her with her own truths. The slideshow, the forged letters, the hacked systems, the book. They were tools of a betrayed heart, wielded with cold intent. Clara's emotional affair, her sharing of dreams and soul with Victor, had been a theft of our life. I'd stolen it back, leaving her with nothing but regret. One day, I received an email, forwarded through a friend. It was Clara, her words brief. "I'm sorry. I understand now." I didn't reply. Her apology was too late, her understanding irrelevant. The cruelty was in letting her live with her clarity, knowing she'd lost everything, her bakery, her art, her community, for a fleeting connection. I deleted the email, her voice erased as she'd once erased me. I kept the drawer with Muse of Ashes locked, not out of sentiment but as a reminder. Betrayal has a cost and I'd paid it forward. I walked through my new city, free but changed. The weight of my actions not a trophy but a lesson. Clara's betrayal had taught me trust is fragile, but revenge is eternal. I didn't need her forgiveness or her tears. I had my peace, forged in the ashes of her dreams. The story ended not with reconciliation but with silence, the cruelest victory of all.